And about 20 years ago, a friend of mine thought I was doing too well, so-called friend, and she did some dark magic on me. It led to me being out of work for a couple of years, being in a dark space, financially struggling. As fate would have it, she passed away in a fire in March 2020. She's only 38 years old, and she became a spiritual guide. She's the one that pushed me as a guide to learn how to read Akashic Records. I chased her on the boat. We got into an argument. She hit me with an oar and I fell into the water. I was conscious, but I was drowning. So in that life, I basically was feeling helpless and heartbroken. All the wars and everything else, it's really the masculine in us is having a crisis, an identity crisis. Everything we've kind of created over many centuries has to come down for it to be rebuilt. Right now, I feel like maybe we've got to change the meaning of the word selfish, because I feel like we do need to focus on ourselves. Whatever the question, the answer is always love. Fall in love with you.
Welcome to the Mind, Body, Spirit podcast. I'm here with Nimesh Radia. He's a spiritual mentor, tapping into the Akashic Records, training, doing retreats, and a lot of work to help people transform their lives. And he has his own podcast, The Spiritual Journey. And we appreciate having you on, Nimesh.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Absolutely. And what I like to do is I like to start out with your awakening journey. If you want to tell us just a little bit about that, because it kind of tails into and leads into what got you into this work and then where you're going from here.
Sure. So I guess it started about 20 years ago. I very much, when I started in the corporate space, I was very determined. I was very mentally focused, determined to become CEO of the world. And about 20 years ago, a friend of mine thought I was doing too well, so-called friend, and she did some dark magic on me. I didn't really know anything about this stuff at the time. It led to me being out of work for a couple of years, being in a dark space, financially struggling. And then another friend of mine wanted to go and see this religious lady. She's like, will you come with me? I was like, sure. And so when I went to see her, she looked at me and said, somebody's done something to you. And as soon as she said that, I got an image of what had been done, who'd done it. Freaked me out a little bit, to be honest. But she's like, I can't fix it for you, but I can help you. And long story short, back and forth over time, I agreed to her help. She sent off to India for them to do a ceremony for me. They did a fire ceremony for me. They sent some of the ashes in a little casket. I wore that. Within a couple of days, I got an interview for a director of a role. Within like 3 days after that, I got offered the role, which is great. But more importantly, that opened me up to knowing there's so much more around me than just a mental space. So it opened me up to spirituality. So I know that I had a soul contract with her to open me up spiritually. But also, obviously she's not in my life, but I don't hold any negativity towards her because I wouldn't have opened up spiritually without her. But then for a while, I was looking for people to fix me, give me a course, give me a meditation, and I'll be fixed. And over time, I realized I don't need to be fixed. Everything I need is inside me, all the love, all the joy. And that led me to start to work with our mentor, my friend, Sidra Jeffrey, who guided me to the healer I am, my energy, my vibration. As fate would have it, she passed away in a fire in March 2020. She's only 38 years old, and she became a spiritual guide. She's the one that pushed me as a guide to learn how to read Akashic Records. I only connected with the records because I wanted to understand my contract with her. I knew we weren't done. I knew we had work to do. And I understood that she supports me in the other realms and I do the work here. And that led me down a path to deeper on the Akashic Records, to start reading for friends. I got the message through the records that my voice is my gift. And that's when I started the podcast. I sort of named it after Sidra, so it has her initials, Spiritual Journey, Sidra Jeffrey. I feel like she guides it. Through the records, the mentorship program I do, I channeled it through the records. The records have really allowed me to build a deeper connection with the realms, with my guides. A couple of years ago, I left the corporate space. I'm now dedicated to this work. I love what I get to do. I guide people on their spiritual journey through the podcast, through spiritual mentorship, through Akashic Records, through so many different avenues. I love what I get to do. So thank you for the question. I know that's deeper than you wanted, but I thought I'd share my story. So thank you for the platform.
Absolutely. Yeah, you provided enough information that I think diving into the Akashic records is something that you specialize in. And what is the Akashic records, and any details that you would like to share on that? The more detailed, the better.
Yeah, I mean, so for my journey into, like I said, I was guided to the records, and when I started, I actually, even as a podcast, I think episode 7 or 8, really early on, I have a meditation where I guide people to the land of the Akasha. So I started with, kind of Akashic records are like a library, kind of, because the records are a record of everything your soul's been through, right? Current life, past life, future life, prior life, everything about you is stored in the records. And when you tap into the records, they give you an insight into your journey. They give you an insight into what your soul's been through. I'll always say you get what you need rather than what you want, because your guides aren't going to stop you having a human experience. So the records aren't going to say to you, if you go down this road, then you're going to suffer something painful, because if that's what you're contracted as a soul, you're still going to experience it. But they give you insight. They give you insight into past lives, into the karma you carry into this world. You can dive deep into the records. For me, the records have allowed me to visit different realms, kind of go deeper into who I am spiritually. I do group readings. So when I do a group reading, I call in everyone's energy and a vibration, and I channel a group message. And a lot of the times I'll get the message that it feels like I'm talking directly to the person, even though it's a group message. When I do an individual reading, what you're doing is you're giving me permission to your guides. And basically what I do is I channel a message from your guides. In many ways, I am a vessel for that message. I don't filter it. I don't change it. When I'm reading for an individual, I basically, you're giving me access to your soul, and it's the closest I feel to source. A lot of the time, I don't remember the conversation because I'm not really there as a human. I'm there as the vessel to share that message. Like I was saying, whatever you feel the records are is true to you. It's that I started with thinking like a library, then I moved to thinking like a cloud. Now, for me, they're just everywhere. They're part of who I am. They're part of. I tap into them on a regular basis, even without opening the records. So they've changed my life. I feel like we all have access to the records. I feel like at a soul level, we can all access our records. It's the human that's forgotten. So when I train people, what I'm really doing is guiding the human to a gift and ability you already have, right? And I do that through 3 sessions. 1, you receive a reading. 2, I guide you to open your own records. And between session 2 and 3, I encourage you to practice, different ways, opening the records, asking questions, but also before you go to sleep, before you go for a walk. The records allow you to build a deeper connection with what's around you. The 3rd session, you get to open my records. That way you get to experience everything, all facets of the records. I love the records. They've changed my life. They really have opened up a deeper connection to who I am at a soul level. I hope
Wow.
that answers your question.
That certainly does. And I'm wondering how we can tap into those records. Is it simply our focus and intention? I'm guessing there's some strategy behind that, but what would be some ways that people could tap into the Akashic records?
So,
Um,
the way I do it is I use a prayer. I trained with the records a while ago, and I've adjusted the prayer to match me. But obviously, you get trained, so reach out to a reader like me. But also, there's lots of prayers available online. So if you want to try, you should go ahead and try. If when you hear Akashic Records, you feel it, you feel a connection to your soul, then try it, right? And what I would always say is, what's your intention when you connect to the records? If your intention is, I need all my answers, and I'm frustrated, and I would always say, set the intention of building a deeper connection with your guides. And of course, if you build a deeper connection, you'll start to get more insight and you'll start to get more awareness about what's happening around you. But it's, you can start by using one of the prayers. And the way that I always like to cleanse my energy before we go in the records, and you can do that with a simple white light cleanse. So, just be in a quiet space, maybe have a candle lit, maybe be in your own energy and your vibration, and let go of any expectations. It's a journey, right? Think of it as beginning a relationship. You're not gonna learn everything in the first go. So you got to try different things. Some people like connecting with the records. I like connecting with the records through in-person interaction, normally through Zoom, majority is through Zoom, but I like connecting with the other person's energy. Some people like channel writing. Some people like recording a message. So, try different things. Try, open the records and asking questions, open questions, close questions. Try recording a message, try writing a message, channel writing. There isn't a set of rules, right? It's like like I said, you're starting a new connection, you're building a deeper connection, and you've got to try different things to know what works with you. And being patient, because again, some people I remember when I first opened the records, there was an expectation that all of a sudden I was going to know everything about my soul. It's going to be kind of like, oh my God, but one, the human psyche can't take all that information. And two, like I said, I got what I needed at the time, which was an opening. And then the more I've connected with the records, the more natural it's become. It's like a muscle, right? You can't just open the records once and all of a sudden you be that. You gotta. One, there is a natural connection if you're open to it, but two, you've got to kind of develop that relationship with your guides, and they'll only share with you what you're ready to hear.
Yeah, I would imagine each time you connect with them, you're in a different state of consciousness. And each time that you connect with them, they're not going to present more than what you're ready for. It
100%.
just it just wouldn't make sense, especially just understanding the role of being a soul here and going through these lessons. They're not going to be like, hey, you have this obstacle coming up
Yeah.
and you should avoid this, because then it's just like that's something we need to go through just to learn and grow and evolve. I would imagine the Akashic Records, if everything exists simultaneously and like all timelines exist simultaneously, would tapping into the Akashic Records, you could tap into future timeline potentials that are like your highest probability. Is that something that you can tap into, or do they kind of, shift away from that, knowing that there are lessons and allowing you to explore the unknown, to not know the future?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the individual, right? It's they have given me insights when I'm doing readings for others in terms of what the other person's potential destiny is. So they do. You know, if you're meant to shine your light and maybe be on stage or kind of like relationships, if a soul contracts come to an end, that will sometimes come through in very, very clear indication if you're meant to move to a different country. It really depends on, like you said, they're not going to stop you having an experience. Because ultimately your soul's contracted, this is what your soul is here to experience. Either, for me, it's normally about karmic release, ancestral or personal, or it's about how your soul wants to expand. So if you're here to experience something, they're not going to stop you having that experience, because you're going to learn, you're going to grow, you're going to expand from that pain. I always love the phrase, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional, right? So if you're meant to go through something painful, that's what your soul's contracted, then they're not going to stop you going through that. But if there's some insight that helps you in this next phase, like maybe there's a clear indication you need to move, they might give you that kind of information. So it's like, it's not black and white. It's different for every soul. but it is what you're ready to receive. The records gave me the insight, like I said, to start the podcast. They gave me the insight to start the mentorship program, to leave the corporate space. So they've allowed me to change. They've changed my life. I went from a corporate career which was draining me, to doing something on a daily basis I love. Right, I connect to people's souls and I guide them. So the records give you what you're ready to receive, and like I said, it's always about your intention. It's that whatever you're going to go through, they're going to go through. But sometimes you carry karma into this life. I'll give you an example. I experienced a past life through the records for me, and in that life, basically, I was in love, but the person I was in love with was leaving me. I found out she was on a boat going to wherever. I chased her on the boat. We got into an argument. She hit me with an oar, and I fell into the water. And in that life, because I'd been hit with an oar, I couldn't swim. I was conscious, but I was drowning. So in that life, I basically was feeling helpless and heartbroken. And it meant that many relationships in my life, I kind of went into with the expectation of a heart being broken and it being painful ending. So I had the expectations. Now, going through the records, I working with another healer, I basically, we could re-engineer that life so that, I was meant to have my heart broken. So that I didn't change. But what I did change was I survived in that life. So then it doesn't mean that life itself has changed, but I've changed that experience. So that now, I realized that the karma I was carrying into relationships, I was expecting for it not to work. I was expecting to experience pain. That's just an experience for me. I would, everybody's experience is different. But the Akasha allows you to do that deep work. And it's a journey. I love it. There's like, I've been, like I said, I've been able to experience different realms. I've been able to go deeper into past lives. And when I read for somebody, it's always different. It's because what I find is it depends on the other person. So with some people I see, with some people I hear, with some people I feel, and sometimes it's a mixture. But it's your energy, it's your vibration, and I get to connect with your guides. I feel the energy and the vibration of your guides around you, and it's just, it's beautiful.
Yeah, that's got to be a very beautiful journey to connect that deeply with other people's soul and their guides, and allowing for them to receive whatever they need to at any time they're connecting to it. And I would
Yeah.
imagine that intention, really just our intention behind anything, what we think, what we believe, what we do, and who we are, is really reflective of the intentions and what we're focusing on. So, would you typically work with people if they're seeing certain patterns in their life and use the external world as a mirror? Or would you typically go within and just see kind of what's coming up in the Akashic records, and then seeing what is coming up in their external reality, and maybe putting some precedence on certain things like relationship patterns? Maybe the family, they have a history of divorce and just negative and harmful relationship patterns that continue to appear. How do you work with people in that regard?
Yeah, so typically, if it's the first reading with somebody, I typically just have a conversation with the person about what's happening in their world, not necessarily to gain a history, but one, make the person feel comfortable. Whatever's being said more humanly, I'm tapping into the person's energy already, right? So I'm already and then sure, then I just dive. Whatever comes through, I don't really have a lot of control over it. So, but it's like tapping into somebody's energy before I open the records. I guess just allows me to feel their energy and their vibration at different levels. So we've all come into this life having to release some karma, right? Ancestral karma, personal karma. I feel like um, we've chosen to release a lot of ancestral karma for this generation, so the next generation doesn't have as much ancestral karma to release. So we are here. I feel I've seen a lot of it to release a lot of the ancestral karma. So masculine, feminine. Maybe there's been a lot of control on the masculine. Maybe it caused a lot of pain. Maybe there's heartbreak there, and I do feel like we've come to release a lot of the ancestral. So that does come up quite a lot. The other thing I'm seeing a lot of recently is time in battles. I feel like there's a warrior element to our soul that's been activated for a lot of us, and what they're showing me is us seeing things in battle that is painful, causing pain, but it's more about activating that warrior heart in you to kind of, because I feel like we're going through a transition on the planet, shifting from divine masculine to divine feminine, and we need to be different through this phase. And I feel like that what the Akasha has allowed me to do is activate the warrior element in a lot of people's energy and vibration, that that kind of lion heart, because I feel like this shift we're going through is intense, and anything you can do to kind of guide you through it, the better, right?
I want to tap into a couple things there. Just elements of that divine masculine and divine feminine, perhaps intermixed with divine child energies. It sounds like we're moving from that maybe wounded or personality masculine into more divine feminine energies. Do you have any thoughts on just ways that typically expresses? With the wounded masculine, wounded feminine, and the wounded child, and then shifting into that divine child, that divine masculine, divine feminine energy. We'll start there, and then we'll kind of see, because that's a lot
Sure. Yeah,
within that question.
that's like probably seven or eight episodes. But no, I mean, kind of touching on the divine, I feel like we're moving from the age of divine masculine, which masculine is all about ego. It's all about putting people on a pedestal. It's all, and we all have masculine and feminine as, by the way. So it's not male or female, but it's that. And I feel like we're moving to the age of feminine, and then feminine is all about leading more with the heart, shifting from I think to I feel. Um, and I feel like this shift, you can see it on the planet, right? All the wars and everything else. It's really the masculine in us is having a crisis, an identity crisis. Everything we've kind of created over many centuries has to come down for it to be rebuilt, for us to shift into divine feminine. And feminine is all going to be about connecting with the heart. It's going to be more about community and collaboration rather than individual. Um, and we're seeing that now, right? We're seeing the kind of the importance of collaboration is increasing, the importance of community is increasing, and all the kind of divine, so many egos we put on pedestals all going to start coming down. We've seen some of it already. And I know you call it divine inner child. For me, it's the inner child, right? The inner child isn't just our childhood, but it's kind of that part of us that represents the that that part of us inside that needs the love, care, attention, maybe healing. And I feel like, when we're in this transition from divine masculine to divine feminine, our inner child is showing up much more. It's playing up. It's kind of, this is where we become, maybe a little bit arrogant, a little bit annoyed, a little bit angry, because we're in this phase where we're shifting. Our old life in many ways doesn't exist anymore. We know that something's different. Maybe the things we used to do, maybe the friends we used to have, any of the friends we've had, or the things we do regularly, it's almost like we're an alien in our own world. It feels uncomfortable. But whatever we're moving into isn't ready. So we're in this void, and it makes us feel uncomfortable. But this is where we have to spend time with ourselves and really kind of connect with our divine masculine, connect with our divine feminine, connect with our inner child. because we're all of it's needed, right? It's not one or the other. It's like you've got to, and more than the records is a beautiful modality to connect to you on the inside. Ultimately, what we've got to do is connect with ourselves on the inside. And that's where, everything you need is inside you, all the love, all the joy. And it's like when we start tapping into that, when we start switching from our thinking to our feeling, trusting our intuition, we start building that muscle. Once we start healing everything internally, our external starts to change. So I feel like we're all being pushed to do the internal work and really kind of trust in whatever's happening here. Because then you add AI and things like that to it. It's an interesting time where, I feel like we have access to so much more information that can be channeled through the records in so many different ways. But I also feel like the pull to access things like AI, on the human realm is kind of causing this additional confusion. I love AI. I feel like it can be an extension to the channel, but it can't replace that inner work. It can't replace you tapping into who you are. And I feel like this phase for us is going to be really, really interesting.
Yeah, I feel like anything we do, any experience, so such as like technological advancement, there has to be an advancement within ourselves to balance that, allowing for discernment to use these technologies in a way that it's going to be shaped by the consciousness that created it. So if we're in lower states of consciousness, you can use AI for tracking people and just destroying privacy concerns even more. And I think it really just comes down to when we're expanding consciousness, there's also going to be a counter force that is trying to lower consciousness simultaneously. So I'm wondering, do you have any suggestions for people of how they can move through? I would call it, let's call it a mass awakening, moving into perhaps new earth. Some people will call it expanded states of consciousness where love, joy, freedom, authentic expression, and truth are shining a lot brighter than the darkness and the distortions and the illusions. How can we manage and have it as a smoother transition for the most people on this planet?
I feel like when I get asked that sort of question quite often, and I feel like, people are looking for this magical insight, this big epiphany, this flash in the sky, and all of a sudden it makes more sense. For me, ultimately, you need to do the work. And what I mean by that is, um, always start with strong self-care. Time in nature, time in meditation, time really kind of getting to know you, because we've shifted so much. So don't assume you know this version of you. All of us have gone through, I feel like, multiple rebirths. So this is a phase where I encourage you to get to know you. And that comes from time in silence, time in meditation, time in journaling, time in nature, some sort of physical activity, because this is a vessel for your soul. And what that does, it gives you a strong base. It allows you to be present. And when you're present, and when you present in the moment, you can experience your soul having human experience. So when you're present, you can be present. And it allows you to respond rather than react. And what it does, it starts to give you that peace, so you're exactly where you're meant to be. Because again, like I keep saying, we're a soul having a human experience. So when you're having the human experience, everything that's happening to you is a lesson. It's an opportunity to expand. If you're getting triggered by something, it's an opportunity to heal. And, once you start connecting to you and getting to know you at a deeper level, you can start to experience the wonder of who you are, what your soul's here to experience. Your dreams become much more vivid. Your human day-to-day experiences become much more vivid. And that allows you to experience this transition in a state of presence. Obviously, then from there, you can go deeper into your experience. You can learn different modalities like Akashic Records. For me, when someone says, "Who are you?" Yes, I'm an Akashic record reader, but that's not who I am. Akashic Records is a modality I have access to, right? It's a powerful healing modality that's on the shelf, and I can pick it up to heal people. I can pick it up to heal me. But my light, my energy, my vibration, that's the gift. And it's like when you do that internal work, what it allows you to do is shine your light so much brighter. And that's what I feel like we're here to do is we're all work in progress, right? Anyone that says they're healed, I kind of wouldn't have a smile because I feel like the universe has a great way of reminding us we've still got healing to do. But it's like, what when you're present, you get to experience this life, and you can go through this phase of rebirth and really getting to know you in a much more easy and grace sort of way. When you become more curious, you become more student. So when something happens to you, when you become curious, I wonder why that happened. What is it here to teach me? Well, how am I learning? What am I expanding from it? Life becomes different. You become more curious. And as you do the internal work, your external work changes. Um, and by the way, it doesn't mean, once you start to experience the deeper spiritual experience, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to experience pain. But what you're doing is you're raising your vibration. And then when you experience something and you have a dip because of that experience, the dip is not as deep because your vibration is higher. So it allows you to be more present and maybe even come back quicker. It's just an interesting journey, right? It's just when you take away the expectation of where we feel we should be, because that's what's keeping us stuck right now. It's like, oh, by this age, I should have been here. I should be earning this much money. I should be married. I should be this. It's that expectation, but we're all on this human experience, wherever we are, exactly where we're meant to be. And it's just that the more you can let go of the expectation of where you should be, because this is a phase where I feel there's so much disconnect between the human and the spirit. The human knows and can feel a shift, wants to control it, wants the next 5 steps, wants to know exactly what we need to do next. The spirit's like, let's go, let's go. The soul's like saying, let's go. And this is where I feel the disconnectedness is coming. The human's uncomfortable with this next phase. It knows it's going to be intense, and the spirit's ready for it. Our soul has worked many lifetimes to be here. And the more that we can talk to the human, the ego, and just say, we don't need protection. We don't need a long-term plan. What we need to do is focus on the next step. And then the next step. The more you focus on the moment and trust in the moment, the moment becomes magical. By the way, I can talk about this stuff for hours, so jump in if you have any additional questions, because I love this topic. I feel like it's a beautiful, blessed time for our souls. That doesn't mean it's going to be straightforward, right?
Yeah, I love everything you've said, and it's almost embracing the unknown is very difficult for the human, but for the soul, the unknown is where expansion occurs.
So,
It's
yeah,
where it's where that growth from we see these experiences, and if we're in lower states of consciousness, that dip feels pretty
yeah,
tough at times, and it can really put us in rock bottom at times. And perhaps that rock bottom is the impetus to that new level of growth
yeah,
and that expansion upon the horizon. So
yeah. I
it's
mean, I guess the phrase "dark night of the soul" and things like that comes through. When you hit that rock bottom, that's maybe when we're here to experience something major. Who knows, right? But
what would you? Oh, continue.
I was going to say, I mean, it's just, you talked about change for the human changes, and most people say, I love change. But if we're honest as humans, we love change when we see it coming, when we have a rough idea what it is. Dark night of the soul and things like that, when we're experiencing it, it's layers and layers of pain. Um, it's like we're shedding every aspect of ourselves, and we need to get to our core to then rebuild. And it's from that phase of rebuild that we get to experience a new version of ourselves. because we come into this life as a baby. We're very present. We cry, we get attention. We get, maybe the attention is love, maybe it's food, whatever. But we're very present. There's no, oh my God, well, what's happening next year and all that. And what we're trying to do, what I feel we're trying to do, is get back to that moment of being very present. But then we go through life having so much programming, having, religious programming, societal programming, work programming. And it's like the dark night of the soul, we're just shedding all the stuff we've been going through, all the ancestral karma we've released, the personal karma, to get back to our core, to then rebuild into something new.
Yeah, it almost completely comes back to, can you be present with what is?
Yeah.
And with what is going to be that ancestral experiences that maybe cause fragmentation from the soul or disconnection from that soul. And it's when maybe you didn't have boundaries. You just dropped those and you said yes to everything. It's being able to say no. And would you say embodiment and integration would be a key aspect of this, in the sense that you can become aware of these patterns and then you can heal and transmute these patterns, perhaps just becoming aware of the Akashic records, going within them, and then asking your guides and the your spirit and all the teams that are around you to support you on this journey of releasing all that no longer serves you and opening up and expanding to that new version of you. But eventually you have to make that different choice in your life. So if you are repeating those relationship patterns, you ultimately have to choose yourself and choose, maybe, I love myself and I trust myself. And once you move through the baggage that is kind of holding and weighing you down, and it's causing your outer reality to reflect negative relationship after one after another, would you say, how could people embody and integrate this information if they've healed this?
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing is, I mean, you talked about kind of repeat programs. I don't necessarily believe in repeat programs. I believe what we do is, it's a deeper level of learning around the same thing. And the way that, for me, the way that you start to become more aware is you start to become more curious. I.e., because we're always looking for this thing. Give us a meditation, give us a course, but really, what's happening in your world gives you so many clues. For example, I feel like we've been pushed to really look at our soul family right now. What I mean by soul family, the people's closest to us. And they give us so many clues. So it's like, if you look at maybe the top 5 or 7 people in your world, and you look at, you feel, you connect with them individually and just ask, is my soul contract with this person complete? What is this person here to teach me? Can I be myself? Do I need to lower my vibration to be around these people? And that starts to give you clues, because the clues of what you've got to heal are all around you. Yes, they're inside you, but you've also, the people around you give you clues. And I feel like what we're going through now is a phase of completing soul contracts. So the first thing I do is, like, ask, who in your world is my contract complete with? And I make it sound easy, by the way. If there's people that have been in your life for years and years, um, but actually you're raising your vibration. So when you raise your vibration, what you're doing is you're giving other people an opportunity to do the same. But you can't force them. So if you raise your vibration and they stay and they choose to be in a lower vibration, people start naturally falling away. So the first thing I would do is look at the people in your world and say, hold on, is my contract with this individual done? Because I feel like what we're being asked to do is create space in our world for new souls to come through. Because who we needed for the last phase may be different to who we need in the future. And then that includes your blood family, by the way. And what I'd say about your blood family is, you pick your blood family as a soul to expand you, not always to love you. Sometimes it's our expectations of, the love of a parent, the love of a sibling. But that's program, right? when really what you do is you pick your blood family to expand you, to teach you. If they love you too, that's great. It's a great bonus, but it's not always the case. But your blood family can touch your buttons and press your buttons like nobody else can. So they're great. They're a great teacher. They're a great expander. So it's like, and the other thing is, what you're feeding yourself right now is really important too. And it's just not the food you eat. Obviously, that's part of it. But who you spend your time with, what you spend your time doing, what reading, watching, listening to, what are you feeding yourself is also really important. So you've got to start by looking at your world, and you've got to be honest with yourself, because change comes from being uncomfortable and having that honest conversation with yourself about, look, what in my world do I need to change? And then, it doesn't have to be drastic. For example, if you think, all right, if you feel like this person's soul contract is done, you can kind of gently start to pull your power back. You can go and blow shit up if you wish, and all of a sudden cut ties with everybody if that's what you want to do. But it's an intention. It's like, you know what? Okay, I need to start to manifest souls that are that allow me to be me. They challenge me in a different sort of way. If you're around people who drag you down, then you've got to ask yourself, are you in an environment that really allows you to thrive? Because I feel like the role that we're playing right now is the bridge. We have to raise our vibration, do the work on ourselves. And what that does is we set an example for other people. And maybe, we're just like a couple of steps ahead, and you wave to the person in the back and say, hey, look, maybe raise your vibration, and here's some ways of raising your vibration. You give people an opportunity to be different, but you can't force them. It's their choice. It's free will. That's why we have free will. So if you're working on you, and you're really focused on the inside and looking at what you created and changing and shifting, you are setting an example for others to do the same. If they choose to, great. If they don't, they're great. I mean, a lot of spiritual people right now talk about this great ascension, this great shift from 3D to 5D, whatever you want to call it, whatever words you want to call it. And I do feel that, right? I feel that over this coming period, we all have a choice. You either kind of focus on doing the work inside, you'll focus on kind of getting to the 5Ds, that's what you call it, ascension, or you get lost in the noise on the planet. And then you get stuck in the 3D. And whatever you choose is perfect. Who are we to say what's right to do? But I feel like the planet is going through a massive shift. And a lot of people will choose to kind of focus on what's happening on the planet and the noise on the planet, rather than doing the internal work, where others will choose to do the internal work and be that bridge and an opportunity for others to do the same. And maybe somewhere in the middle, but I feel like you've either got to do one or the other, right? Choose to do the internal work. If you're really focused on what's happening on the planet, focus on things you can't change, then I would challenge you a little bit and just kind of say, well, hold on, what about on the inside? What about you? Because when you shine your light, when you become selfish and focus on you, what you're doing is you're raising your vibration. And if we collectively raise our vibration, then we start to shift the world. And by the way, I know when you ask me a question, I go off tangents, but there's like, everything's connected. Nothing's separate, right?
No, I love the tangents, because it's, if everything is connected, it just takes you down these different, you could call it rabbit holes, and in different ways of seeing things, and perspectives, and I agree with everything you've said. And it's do you see like all of humanity going through this ascension journey? Do you see it, I guess, in the eyes of time, over time, all souls evolve, and they're moving through this spectrum, and some may be a slower process. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, look, change is the only constant, right? So all souls, our souls don't have a religion. They don't have the programming. They just, in its essence, pure. So yeah, we're all evolving, we're all changing. As you talked about earlier, who's to say that we're not running parallel lives all at the same time? You know, time is a human concept, but will everybody go through this shift? Everyone that's in the human plane, 100%. Um, will some choose to stay in the 3D and maybe not evolve? Maybe, yeah. I feel like this phase that we're going to go through is going to cause a bigger divide. There is going to be I feel like there's going to be a lot of people leave this realm. I feel like um, we have to break down all of this, all these barriers, all these things that we've created over centuries to really kind of, from a divine masculine perspective, all of that needs to come down. And that's going to mean a lot of pain on the planet. So yes, we're all going to go through something. How we go through it, how much we evolve, how much we shift, it's all down to each individual soul. But I feel like we all have a massive opportunity to grow, to learn, to evolve. I feel like any soul that's here right now, it's a blessing for the soul because you're meant to be here. You're meant to go through the shift. And, but where you are, how much you've gone through it, it's all individual. It's all unique. Yes, we are a collective energy, but our individual energy within that is important. And the other thing I'd be careful of right now is comparison. We're all exactly where we're meant to be. So don't compare yourself to other person. Your soul and what your soul's been through, what your human's been through is unique to you. And, you know, your answers, I keep saying, and I feel like I keep saying the same thing, but your answers are in you. So if you're looking outside, then you're looking at the wrong place. If you're looking to somebody as an example, you know, you're looking to be in a relationship. I'm looking for somebody to complete me. No, you're complete already. Anybody that comes into your world, one, you're a blessing to them, and two, they complement your energy, not complete your energy. So it's realizing actually the way you're exactly where you're meant to be. You're a powerful being. You're a gift to those around you. And you need to shine your light unconditionally because we're trained not to be selfish, right? We're trained to put everybody else first over us. It's kind of in our programming, or it's in our DNA. But right now, I feel like maybe we've got to change the meaning of the word selfish because I feel like we do need to focus on ourselves. And actually, we can help so many more people when we focus on ourselves because our light becomes brighter. You know, my intention, my people always say, you know, I need to know what my destiny is. I need to know what my purpose is. And I always smile because what makes you think you only got one purpose? Why would you incarnate on this planet to have just one thing to do? And I always say my purpose is anyone I connect with, I leave them better than I found them. That allows me to do anything. I can do podcasting. I can do public speaking. I can do mentoring. I can do Akashic record reading. As long as somebody listens to my podcast every day at some point, I've achieved my purpose. So I can, you know, I can sit at home in meditation or even having a Netflix day, whatever. But I know I'm making a difference because of, you know, my intention, using my light, sharing my light. And by the way, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, well, he's talking about other people, he's not talking about me. Actually, I'm talking about you. I'm talking about everybody. We all have such a beautiful light and we have an opportunity to shine it.
And that time is now. And it's a lot of resistance coming up for people, and it's moving through that resistance in a way that is right for them, that feels
100%.
right. And it's not trying to say, oh, well, I'm not in the right career, or I'm not in the right relationship. Everything's in it's unfolding in divine timing and order for every being. So if you look at it from that perspective, um, it starts to provide a little bit of ease for people because they can understand that wherever they're at, whether it's in you know, a situation that they don't want to be in, and maybe it's very uncomfortable. I think that's the right position for that soul because it's allowing for that growth and evolution. So
Yeah.
just
I mean,
shining light
yeah.
on that.
I mean, the two phrases that really help me that come to mind with what you're saying. One, this too shall pass. Whatever phase you're in, and if you're loving life, enjoy it, embrace it, but knowing that this is a phase and whatever next phase is, this too shall pass. But if you're in a difficult phase, know that this too shall pass. And, you know, there isn't a magic formula. You've got to do the work for sure, but knowing it's a phase allows you to maybe have that little bit of hope and a little bit of focus and a little bit of, and the other phrase I love so much is, what's for you will always find you. What isn't for you will miss you, right? And we will get so focused on, I need to make the right decision. What if I make a mistake? There's no right or wrong. Whatever you decide, you're going to learn from it. You're going to expand from it. And if you feel like you're going the wrong direction, you're not a tree. You can change direction, right? So we stress about, is this the right decision? And again, what I'd ask you to do if you have a decision to make, sit with it in your heart and just ask, how do I feel about this? And you'll get an intuition. You'll get a message which says, you know what? I feel good about it. I'm uncomfortable, whatever. Normally, your intuition kicks in first before your ego. So when you do something like this and you sit with it, what happens is your intuition is quieter. It's normally a whisper. Yes, do it. Or no, don't do it. Or, do this or do that. And it's like, but then your ego kicks in and your ego is loud. It's brash. It's emotional. But if you start to build a muscle of trusting your intuition, that voice becomes louder and louder and louder, and you get to hear it more. It's still always gentle. It's never brash. It's never emotional. But if you start, our body, our physical body is such a powerful channel. If you start listening to your body, if you start listening to your heart, asking that question, how do I feel about it? And start trusting your answers, your life will shift because you're trusting your intuition. You're more on a aligned path. I feel like on the spiritual journey, people are always looking for, maybe this needs to be a complicated answer. I feel spirituality, and part of my objective of my podcast is to really simplify spirituality. I don't feel like spirituality is complex. I never said it was easy, by the way, but I said it wasn't complicated. It's simple. You do the self-care, you spend time with you're present in what's happening, you become curious about your world, you start to change your question. It allows you to become more present. And when you're more present, you can go through this human journey differently.
Yeah, that's really bringing a lot of simplicity to it because a lot of people like to overcomplicate things and say, man, I need the answers moving forward. Yet the very answers that they're seeking is showing them that they're trying to control and manage a
And
situation.
bypass.
100%. Yeah, it's an interesting journey for people. And my last question is going to be, um, a lot of people are on this endless healing journey in the spiritual space, and then there's the far end of that where we're whole and there's nothing to heal. So how can we look at both of these perspectives and bring them back into balance?
So I guess for me, this whole journey, this whole lifetime is about healing, but it's also about experiencing. It's also about having fun. And like I said earlier, I don't feel like I don't. I feel like I'm always going to be expanding, learning, growing. And if you want to call that healing, then I'm just sure I'm always going to be healing. But it's that it comes down to what's your intention. If you're doing all these things and trying all these different things, and what you're trying to do is fix yourself, then it's not the healing that's wrong. It's not the healing it's actually your intention that you need to shift. Because healing and doing the healing work is really going deeper on understanding you. And like I said earlier, if you're doing the healing work by trying all these external things, and actually you're wondering why it's not working, it's because your intention with doing all these things is to fix you. And what if you don't need fixing? You're on a journey of discovery. And it's your intention, because we can spend a lot of money on this healing journey, right? We can do all these courses, join all these retreats, and then still be like, I still don't feel this. I don't feel any different. it always comes down to your intention. It's always, you can use these external things to guide you. I mean, like the mentorship program I do, 100% I guide you to you. But I'll always say that I'm only guide you to you. I never tell anybody what to do. So your answers are in you. There's an interesting echo that's come out as I'm saying this, which is why I'm just kind of, but, this journey of healing is a lifetime journey. But you've got to stop every once in a while and look in the mirror and ask yourself, how do I really feel? What's my intention? Am I doing the internal work, or am I looking externally for the fix? The more you start listening to you, the more you start understanding what's happening in your world and how it's expanding you and how it's helping you grow. Does that
I
make
think
sense?
that
I don't know if I fully answered your question.
No, that certainly answers it, because it's really shifting it back to everything is dependent on your intention. So, hey, why do I need to heal myself? Is it because I'm trying to
Yeah.
fix an aspect of myself, or is it because I'm seeing how I'm reacting and I'm seeing my experiences as a reflection of your state of consciousness and the things within you that could be brought back into the light of awareness, the light of your focus, your consciousness, your attention, your intention. And as that shifts into, hey, let me go through this as a journey of self-discovery versus let me try to fix an aspect of my experience because I don't like this and I want to change that. There's totally different energies behind those two. So
Yeah.
that yeah,
We want to bypass it, right? We want a quick fix, right? And it's an interesting journey where we've got to become uncomfortable. It's what I said earlier. Become uncomfortable and kind of look inside you for the answers. And sometimes we're masking the truth. We're kidding ourselves. Our power comes from being honest with ourselves. What are the deepest, darkest parts of you hidden? Those are the parts that are coming out now. Those are the parts that need healing. Those are the parts that need releasing. Be uncomfortable. Do things that make you feel uncomfortable. Do things that expand you. Be around people that push you a little differently. Not in a way that makes you feel unsafe. But this is a different time. So Einstein's definition of insanity: you keep doing the same thing, expect a different set of results, right? You're only going to shift and be different if you try to do something different.
100%. And I know those were some amazing words of wisdom right there, but do you have anything left that you'd like to share with the audience?
I mean, I could talk for hours. Well, all I'll say is you're needed, you're wanted. It's time to fall in love with you. You're a powerful being that deserves to be loved and is loved. And maybe it's time for you to connect with the other realms, to your guides, and to allow yourself to be guided, to be pushed, to be stretched in a more loving and powerful way. And just know that whatever the question, the answer is always, always love. Fall in love with you. And then your world will change, right? It's that we're always looking externally for the answers, but what if the love that you seek is the love for you?
Beautiful closing words right there. So thank you so much for your time and energy today, Nimesh. I'm sure the audience will get something out of this. If not, just to dive into the uncomfortable moments of life and just to experience it fully. It's quite the journey, to say the least.
Sure.
So I'll put your website in the show notes. But are there any other websites or Instagram or social media or any
Yeah.
programs that you have going on that you'd like to promote right now?
Yeah, I mean, my name. So I'm all on social media platforms. If you just search my name, Nimesh Radia, you'll find me. The links are in my podcast, in my website anyway. If you want to hear more of what I do, then my podcast is always a great place to start. It's called Spiritual Journey Path to Awakening. Depending on when this is released, I have a retreat. So if you're in the UK, I have a retreat coming up in Glastonbury on June 5th to the 8th. I still have a couple of places. My mentorship program, book and Akashic reading. There's so many different ways I give back. If you want to experience more of this, once a month I run a full moon webinar, which is free, 90 minutes of healing. The next one is on 31st of May. It's always around the full moon, so whenever that is. But yeah, look at my website. All the information's there. But Tim, thank you for this platform. Thank you for allowing an open dialogue. Thank you for, none of this is scripted, right? So whatever comes through, comes through. So thank you for giving us the platform to do that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I'm definitely going to be checking out an Akashic reading myself, and I'm really looking forward to that. I highly recommend you check out his website, check out his events and the retreats coming up, and it will be something special and transformative. So thank you so much.